Pleasure has never been easier to find. One swipe, one click, one notification, one more episode, one more scroll, one more purchase. The world has become incredibly good at giving us small moments of pleasure. Yet somehow, anxiety is rising, attention is shrinking, peace feels harder to find. It's strange. The more pleasure we have access to, the less satisfied we seem to become. Maybe the problem isn't that we don't have enough pleasure. Maybe it's that we've forgotten what pleasure was meant to be. Because pleasure was never supposed to become the center of our lives. It was supposed to be a beautiful visitor. Instead, many of us have unknowingly made it our destination. And perhaps that's why so many people today have everything they once wanted, yet still feel like something is missing. This is the philosophy of pleasure. Pleasure isn't the enemy. It's one of life's greatest gifts. The smell of coffee on a quiet morning, a song that reminds you of someone you loved, laughing so hard with your friends that your stomach hurts, watching the rain through your window, holding the hand of someone you care about, eating your favorite meal after a long day. These moments are beautiful. They're part of what makes life worth living. The problem begins when pleasure stops being something we experience and becomes something we constantly chase. Because pleasure promises something it can never permanently deliver: happiness, fulfillment, contentment. Pleasure is a feeling, not a destination. The mistake isn't enjoying pleasure. The mistake is expecting it to complete us. The world that profits from your attention. Look around. Almost everything around us is competing for one thing: your attention. Your phone vibrates. Your favorite app sends another notification. Streaming platforms automatically play the next episode. Online stores tell you there's a limited time offer. Social media promises something new every few seconds. None of these things exist because they're evil. They exist because your attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the world. And the easiest way to keep your attention is to keep feeding your desire for pleasure. Just one more scroll, one more video, one more message, one more purchase, one more like, one more hit of excitement. Slowly, without even noticing, our minds begin confusing stimulation with fulfillment. But they are not the same thing. Being constantly entertained doesn't mean you're deeply alive. Sometimes, it simply means you've become uncomfortable with stillness. Our brains are incredibly intelligent. Every rewarding experience releases dopamine. It's not the chemical of happiness. It's the chemical of anticipation. It whispers, "That felt good. Let's do it again." Thousands of years ago, this helped human beings survive. Finding food, building relationships, exploring new places. It rewarded behaviors that kept us alive. But today, that same system is being triggered hundreds of times every single day. Refreshing the same app, checking messages that haven't arrived, watching videos long after we plan to stop, buying things we don't really need, seeking excitement simply because ordinary life suddenly feels boring. The scary part is, ordinary life didn't become boring. Our brains became overstimulated. And when your brain becomes addicted to constant excitement, peace begins to feel unfamiliar. Silence feels uncomfortable. Waiting becomes frustrating. Reading a book becomes difficult. A walk without music feels empty. We've trained ourselves to expect stimulation every minute, and anything slower suddenly feels like nothing. Here's the strange irony. The more desperately you chase pleasure, the less capable you become of enjoying it. Think about your favorite dessert. Imagine eating it 3 times a day, every day. Eventually, it stops feeling special. The same thing happens with entertainment, luxury, success, even relationships. What once felt exciting slowly becomes normal. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Human beings quickly adapt to almost everything. The phone you couldn't stop thinking about becomes just another phone. The job you dreamed of becomes routine. The achievement you celebrated becomes yesterday's news. That's why chasing more never truly ends. Because the mind quietly adjusts and immediately starts looking for the next thing. Not because you're ungrateful, because that's how the mind works. And if we don't understand this, we spend our entire lives chasing a finish line that keeps moving. Long before smartphones, long before social media, great philosophers noticed something fascinating. The Stoics believed that freedom begins the moment pleasure no longer controls your decisions. If you need comfort all the time, comfort begins controlling you. If you need constant praise, other people's opinions begin controlling you. If you need endless entertainment, silence starts feeling like punishment. Buddhist philosophy teaches something remarkably similar. It says suffering often comes from attachment. Not only attachment to people, but attachment to pleasant experiences. Because everything changes, every feeling fades, every moment passes. Trying to hold on to pleasure forever is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. Neither philosophy tells us to reject pleasure. Instead, they invite us to enjoy it, without becoming dependent on it. Because dependence quietly turns joy into fear. The fear of losing what makes you feel good. So, what's the difference between pleasure and joy? Pleasure is exciting. Joy is peaceful. Pleasure arrives quickly. Joy grows slowly. Pleasure often comes from consuming. Joy often comes from creating. Pleasure says, "Give me more." Joy says, "This is enough." Pleasure disappears the moment the experience ends. Joy has a strange way of staying with you. Finishing a difficult book, learning a new skill, keeping a promise to yourself, helping someone without expecting anything in return, watching the sunrise after waking up early, having a meaningful conversation with someone who truly understands you. These moments don't always create excitement, but they create something deeper. A quiet sense that your life actually means something. That's the difference. Pleasure fills a moment. Joy shapes a life. The balance. So, should we avoid pleasure? Not at all. Life without pleasure would be colorless. Enjoy great food, watch movies, travel, celebrate success, laugh with friends, fall in love, dance, listen to music, buy something you've worked hard for. None of these things are wrong. The danger begins when pleasure becomes your only source of meaning, when every uncomfortable emotion must immediately be escaped, when boredom becomes unacceptable, when silence feels unbearable, when every free minute needs another distraction. Real freedom isn't removing pleasure from your life. It's reaching a point where you can enjoy it without needing it, where your peace doesn't disappear the moment the excitement ends, where happiness isn't held hostage by your next purchase, your next relationship, or your next notification. Maybe the richest life isn't the one with the most pleasure. Maybe it's the one where ordinary moments still feel extraordinary, where a quiet morning feels enough, where a conversation matters more than a notification, where presence becomes more valuable than endless stimulation. Pleasure was never meant to be your master. It was meant to be your guest. Welcome it, enjoy it, be grateful for it, but never build your entire life around chasing it. Because the greatest freedom isn't found in experiencing every pleasure the world can offer. It's found in knowing you don't need every pleasure to feel complete. Perhaps that's the real philosophy of pleasure. Not rejecting life's beautiful experiences, but learning to enjoy them without becoming their prisoner. Because in the end, a meaningful life isn't measured by how much pleasure you collected. It's measured by how deeply you lived. If this conversation changed the way you think about pleasure, share it with someone who might need to hear it.